Hi there. Welcome. Lee Thurburn here. Welcoming you back to another episode of Live Stream Lee. The purpose of Live Stream Lee is to help you grow your business faster, make more money, retire sooner, have more time with your family, and just bottom line, have more fun with your business. I would like to invite you to be sure and go to livestreamlee.com where you can join the community and get an account on Apricot Rocket, as well as get access to all kinds of wonderful, good stuff like private placement memorandums and spreadsheets and documents and slide decks and all that kind of stuff that we cover on the episodes of Live Stream Lee. Accounts are free, and if you'll profile your business and tell us about your business, we'll try to do our best to help you get customers. Today, we have the pleasure of visiting with somebody I've known for a long time. I think I first met Bill back in, I'm going to say 1997 and 1998. And I didn't know at that time that he was going to become the legend that he is today in the Dallas business community. But I was blessed to be invited by Bill when I was the founder and chairman of a company that was a dial-up internet company. And he asked me to come over and talk to his group. And I met Bill, and I still remember that day. And I remember that meeting, and it was a fun time. And lo and behold, some 25 years later, he is the granddaddy of the business networking community in Dallas. Bill, it's good to have you on the program. Thank you for coming in today.
My friend, it's incredibly thrilling to be here, especially the time, excuse me, especially the time that we've known each other, the things we've watched each other do, the accomplishments, attending your wedding. Oh my gosh, it's been a great friendship.
Well, and I've enjoyed it, and I appreciate you. You've I remember that you were just getting Success North Dallas kind of off the ground. I'm guessing you'd had it for a couple of years when I met you, and we met. I don't think it was where you meet now. I think it was an office building. I can't remember exactly the location, but you had about 10 or so people at that meeting. And I was just so excited to come over to Dallas because at that time I was in Fort Worth, and it was like, I'm getting to go to Dallas and talk to Dallas people about my little business. But you have sure grown it since then. When did you start Success North Dallas?
I started Success North Dallas at the behest of I've got something in my throat.
Oh, that's okay. I'll talk for a minute while you get going.
Oh, man.
Folks, if you haven't had a chance to visit a Success North Dallas a meeting, Bill has them on a monthly basis. I know you've got one coming up next week you're going to tell us about in a minute. But so go ahead and tell us the foundation story, when you get your voice.
In March of 1988, I was sitting in my mentor's office, Herb Kelleher, Southwest Airlines. And Herb looked at me and he said, Wallace, when you figure out why I should do business with you, come back. Now get out and figure it out. Well, said in jest, but with true meaning behind it. I looked for the next few months, 5 months, at everything people did not like in networking. I went to almost every networking group I could find and found out people didn't like card pushers. They didn't like pitch bookers. They didn't like selling of wares in the room. They didn't like selling of wares from the lectern. They didn't like being a guinea pig for some salesman to come in or consultant or whatever you want to call them. Charging of guests, and back in 1988, women. And so I found this interesting word, sadhana, S-A-D-N-A. It's a Buddhist word that means a taboo against what makes one feel uncomfortable. And I went back to Herb, and my other mentor at that time was Roger Meyer Cadillac, largest Cadillac dealer in the Southwest. And I was kind of a ping pong ball between the two of them. And it was fun, and I learned so much. But so I went back and I said, well, I'm going to start a high-level networking group, mentor group, and formal board of directors, whatever moniker it seems to develop into. And I'm going to put a sadhana against all of these things that people don't like in networking groups. And so I went through the list, card pushers, all of this. Yes, card straight hands, but we'll talk about that in a minute with their relationship cards, and get all the way down to women. And Herb says yes. And I said, except women. And Herb said, Bill, you're going to have a problem. And I said, no, sir, I'm going to have a big problem. You said create transformational change through disruption. You created a railroad in the sky. You disrupted the industry. You told me to do the same thing. Women are going to be my disruptor. I'm going to create transformational change because we're going to be a minimum of 30% women from day one. And he looked at me and he said, all right, Wallace, I gave him hot pants and booze. If you all know the Southwest Airlines story, you give them women in networking. And we all laughed, and I understood what he was saying, I thought, but I really didn't. It was our 25th anniversary when we did our only luncheon that we've ever done. We meet in the morning at breakfast. Ambridge Hotels paid for the whole thing. 440 people. Ross Perot Sr. welcomed. Boone Pickens hosted. We had the CEOs of Fluor, USAA, 7-Eleven, BNSF, all on the same dais. And we honored Nancy Lieberman. One of my proudest moments, Lee, I looked out at the room, and that room was 50% women. Then I understood what Herb really meant. And so, ladies, those of you out there listening, you're why 32 years later, there's still a Success North Dallas. You're why our members have started 101 companies, 1,253 jobs, and 7 so far Ernst & Young Entrepreneurs of the Year, and have had speakers like Lee Thurman and other speakers from all over the world, and have never paid a speaker or their expenses. They come because of the people in the room. Not me. They come because of you. And I hope at some point you all are in our room.
So, there's a lot of people that have started networking groups, and there's all kinds of networking groups. What were the challenges that you had getting yours off the ground? Because it sounds like, what was the first meeting? What was the year and month of the first meeting? I know you remember that.
October 1988. My months are March and October.
Okay.
But October of 1988, the Landmark Club at Park Central, and we met there until they stopped serving food. And we now have been at Prestonwood Country Club on Preston Road in Dallas for 26 years. So we were at that first location just about 6.
So I was probably, I wasn't sure how many years you had been there, but since I probably came in about 1997, I don't remember. So I was about 8 years. You had about 10 or 15 people in the group. It certainly wasn't the 150 or so that you routinely have now pre-COVID. And you may even have more than that, but it seems to me like the number's in the mid-hundreds range. How long did it take you to get the group really well established?
Well, Lee, I think you spoke in the very, very early 90s, if my memory holds correct. We were at the Landmark Club from 88 to 93. And then we moved to Prestonwood Country Club, I believe it is.
Okay.
And we started out, I invited 7 people. And I asked each one of them to invite one removed from everybody else in the room. And so we started with those 14 and myself, 15 people. The group ran in the 20 to 30 area, probably average attendance 24, 25 for the first, probably from year 2 forward. And then in around year 5, we started outgrowing the room at the Landmark Club. And then they decided they were going to stop serving food. So we said, well, this is a good reason to move. And we looked at, we came down to 3 different locations. Country Club that was just on the other side of Central. And Central was under construction then. Nobody wanted to cross Central. The City Club at Lincoln Center, which closed 5 or 10 years later, and Prestonwood Country Club. and the demographics, the geographics of our group, Prestonwood fit like a glove. And so once we hit Prestonwood, that was our first inflection point. We now had the room to grow. And I remember we started in one of the mid-sized rooms with a horseshoe-shaped table, and it wasn't 6 months before we were using the inside of the horseshoe. Then, when we couldn't even use the horseshoe anymore and had to move to a larger room with more tables. And finally, I think we'd been there about 3 years, and we ended up taking over all the ballrooms. And our attendance started hitting 100, 105, 110. And then post-COVID, we were running 180 to 220.
Yeah, and I mean, you fill the room up. There's no doubt. So, has your format always been the invited speaker format, or did it take a while for you to sort of settle on that?
The first year, we used the people in the room as the speakers. And then the people in the room decided they wanted to look at bringing in outside speakers because we could get to know each other in the room fairly easily. And we wanted you could say, the diversity of opportunity. We wanted the outside knowledge. You know, it's a funny thing. I speak all over the world on networking, mentoring, connecting, and success. And through my networking, I had reached out to the president of J.C. Penney's, the chairman of the board, actually, in New York City prior to them moving to Dallas. And I invited him to come check out the Addison Rotary, which was meeting at the Marriott Forum right behind the Pizza Hut building where they had their original headquarters when they came here. You know, he said to me, he said, Bill, I can't do that because my father is a Rotarian, has had 50 years plus perfect attendance. And he said, I can't honor that commitment, but I want you to meet somebody. And we're talking, he's in New York, and she said, I want you to meet him when we come to Dallas. His name is Al Lynch, and he's our director of strategic planning and development. His name was actually Alfred F. Lynch. He collected Mickey Mouse memorabilia, and he was a crazy, wonderful guy. And he became one of my original 7. Our bylaws were drawn by J.C. Penney's attorneys, signed in the J.C. Penney boardroom on the tollway. And this all came out of just outreaching about something other than my business, insurance. I outreached about something totally different. And that's another object lesson of Success North Dallas and how you can use something like this to truly separate yourself from the herd.
So I want to come back to your business in a moment because I mean, generally speaking, a lot of people start networking groups. I've done it to help grow your business, and I'm sure that was part of your original plan. But let's focus on Success North Dallas for a moment longer. I heard you talking a few times about growing Success North Dallas into something beyond just Dallas. And I don't know exactly where you're at in that, whether you're still wanting to do that or are doing that. So talk to me a little bit about how the Success North Dallas has actually grown and what your plans for it are, if there are any, beyond Dallas.
Well, we currently have no plans to grow it outside of Dallas. We looked at doing one in South Dallas, Fort Worth, and to find somebody that was willing to put in the time to do it was problematic. So in 2014, I helped a gentleman out of New York and South Dakota, Jeff Hazlett, and we started C-Suite at the Fairmont Hotel in Dallas. And so the national growth is, although C-Suite is not Success North Dallas, it is not my company. Success North Dallas is now a part of C-Suite, and we have over 200,000 members internationally and nationally. And we have meetings, 2 to 3 meetings a week since Zoom, since COVID. So I focused the growth there on growing C-Suite outside of this market Thus, it's been a great benefit for Success North Dallas. And we just started a GEO council in Texas called the Lone Star Council, as a council of C-suite. So myself and another gentleman, Dan LeBron, we figured out how to take this around Texas. And so to grow it, no, I'm holding it right here. We started 2 years ago at Young Executives, and our young executives will eventually probably take this over. I'm 70. I feel like I'm 50. I'm having more fun since I quote unquote retired from insurance than I ever had in my life. Making more money, doing more things, and just plain having fun.
Why stop if you're having fun? That's my thinking.
So,
So,
Lee, the back of my book, this is my book, Being a Catalyst for Success, The Fulfilling Life of a Servant Leader. But on the back are my 3 life isms. And the first life ism is, if it's not fun, don't do it. If you have to do it, find a way to make it fun first. You can.
yeah. Yeah, well said. Very true. So, talk a little bit about. I mean, last question on Success North Dallas, then I want to ask just kind of about the business side. How much time did it take? Does it take? And I don't really fully understand the C-suite sort of part of things, but regarding the Success North Dallas event, and there's a lot of logistics that have to be, I mean, you have to look months and months, maybe even years out for some of the guests. You get such amazing guests. How much time does it take for you to make sure that Success North Dallas is the kind of success that it is? What's your investment of time on a regular basis into this?
20 to 25% of my
Okay.
time goes to Success North Dallas.
All right.
And because of that, when I retired from the insurance industry, I'd worked with 164 startups. 90+% of my business was coming via Success North Dallas, because I would take people there to meet other people. They would bring people there to meet me. I would encourage people I wanted to do business with, if they found a speaker that was of interest to perhaps one of their clients, to bring their client, because it's a turnkey event. You've paid X amount of dollars. You're not paying for every meeting, every meal. You're not. You pay an annual fee. So you can bring the people you want. First-time guests are always welcome and free. So people started using it to do this. They started doing business with my clients. I started doing business with their clients. So this was a feeder system to set myself apart from the herd for my insurance business. I did life, health, disability, business planning, buy, sales, key person. I started working with interns and docs. Then I started working with their attorneys. Then they started doing these crazy things called startups. Startups, what's a startup? Well, I can tell you 164 stories about startups, because that's how many I worked with. And I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And now we band together and fund companies.
So yeah, let's switch over now. Let's talk about the Wallace Companies, Inc. What is the mission? Describe what the Wallace Companies does.
The Wallace Companies is basically a holding company and a consulting firm, and it also held my insurance practice. but over the years, it's been a multifaceted organization. My son in Houston is the co-chair, is the vice chairman, and we've had various companies inside of it, which we picked up, we worked with, we built. We have used it in terms of a bridge to fund companies. We've used it as a collection base for various different things. But basically, when I was in the insurance space, I would end up doing a large amount of business planning, working with my clients. And through that business planning, other opportunities came up, which I could not do in an insurance company space. And so that's where Wallace Companies fit in at that time. Now, since I left, I've still quarterbacked a half a dozen startups. I don't do the insurance work. I just oversee it. I've done 20 startups with one company, with one person, 16 with another. And I got known for it throughout the U.S. and I was doing them in California and New York here. And it was a very interesting place. And then I ended up chairing the Signature Luncheon Series for the Richardson Chamber. And my business was about 60% technology. So Richardson was bringing all of these people in from around the U.S., from around the world, and StarTech and some other things. And so I got involved there, and it was just very much a natural for my business with the Richardson Chamber, Telecom Corridor, Telecom 20 at one point. 20 of us came together that worked diligently with telecom companies and with telecom startups in that world into fintech. So that's where my real business came. I'll never forget one great story. I was sitting with a gentleman. Well, actually, he came walking into the original House of Pancakes. He had a stack of stuff. He said, came over, Wallace, I got to tell you what I've just done. I've just bought this little company for 50 grand and I'm going to turn it in. I'm going to blah, 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 blah. And so we're sitting there. He sits down with myself and my client and we're talking and everybody's laughing and he's on a high. And the company was called Telepay. And he says, the first thing I will do is change the name. I said, what are you going to change it to? He said, I don't know. And so he changed it to Bill Matrix. And he developed the 1-800 bill pay system. And I was with him 7 years later when he sold it to Fiserv for hundreds of millions of dollars. And his comment to me was, he said, I got two more. Let's look at them. And so we do company after company because when I worked with a company, if they had under 30 employees, I would not work with them unless I got to meet every single employee because there was no school of entrepreneurship. If you wanted to become an entrepreneur, you went to work for one. And I cannot tell you how many times I've had a Scott or a Jason Matthews call me and say, Jim was getting ready to start his own company. I told him to call you. Or I get a phone call from somebody and said, Bill, we met several times. I said, yeah, how are you, Mike? He said, I'm great. And I'm doing my own thing. And Scott said, I have to talk to you. He said, you will tell me what I don't have to do, not what I have to do. And that's how I became known.
So what are the projects, you've mentioned C-Suite and you mentioned the, I can't remember the name of it, but you're doing something here in the Texas area. Now C-Suite's national, the Texas project that you've got going on. And
it's
then
called the Lone Star Council. And it's a council of C-Suite. It's a council of C-Suite.
Okay, gotcha. What are the, what are your plans for the future? Just more of the same, or do you have any new projects that you've got kind of percolating on a back burner you're going to move to the front?
Well, there's so many things I have not done with Success North Dallas that I still want to do. But we have two types of membership. We have an individual member that's $345 a year. That's all 12 meetings, all the first-time guests you bring, all the food, no nickel and dime, and that's it. That's turnkey. And then we started in our 25th year something called partner members. And partner members are those that have come alongside of us financially so that we can keep our dues down. I think we've got one of the best values in the U.S. so that we can keep our dues down and that are equally yoked to us, to our thought process, to who we are. We turned down several. Point blank, turned them down. They didn't fit. And the bottom line to a partner member is Stan Richards told me at one point, he said, you should charge $100,000 to be on your website. You're in the top 10% of name recognition in North Texas. And I said, well, if it was all about the money, I wouldn't be talking about a 25th anniversary. And he said, well, okay, but it needs to be at least 25 to 50. It has to be a pain point. And so we came up with the thing of partner members. And I remember saying, what's a pain point? He said, 5 figures. I said, it'll be $10,000. So we have a group of partner members that have come alongside of us financially. One of them is One Cleaning for a Reason, and they're owned by the National Cleaning Association, and their goal is to clean 1 million homes of cancer patients for free. We have another one, Cancer Treatment Centers of America. We have Fox Rothschild. We've had people, when they come to Dallas, they come to us, and a couple of them said, well, we're going to be a partner member for a year or two just to get known. They come to us to be introduced. Moss Adams, the largest CPA firm on the West Coast, did that. So we have that type of a membership, and there's so much more that can be done inside of Success North Dallas in growing the partner members and growing the reach now that we're going virtual at every meeting, or hybrid, I should say. We're back in person at Prestonwood Country Club on Preston Road, but we established a total virtual component, and that's going to stay. And we're getting 10 states and 3 or 4 countries on every meeting. So I look to grow it that way as well, Lee.
So we're down to about 5 minutes. I'd love to have you talk a little bit about the speaker that you have coming up next week. There's still plenty of time for people to visit successnorthdallas.com to get an appointment, or not get an appointment, to register to attend in person or virtually. So tell us about your meeting.
Well, it's all about reach, relevance, and reciprocity. And our reach is governed by how far out there we can go because of how relevant we are. And the reciprocity is the give. So our next meeting is Kent Billingsley. The topic is Entrepreneur to Millionaire. It's one of the best business books I've read. It is certainly the Bible for an entrepreneur. Mark Cuban does not do endorsements. Well, he wrote the foreword. It's a fabulous book. And so my give is this. The promo code is first time, all in caps. But if you will go and, one, sign up for our emails to stay in the know at successnorthdallas.com, and then register for the meeting, use the promo code first time, one word, all in caps. There will be no charge for you to come to the meeting. And I would love to have you. Our speaker in May is Commander Guy Snodgrass, Top Gun's Top 10, former Top Gun instructor. In June, for the 20th year, we're presenting the Dallas Police Officer of the Year Award, my favorite meeting. We've got the CEO of Club Corp coming. And so that's just a little bit that we have coming up in the near future. But Kent Billingsley, Entrepreneur to Millionaire, Prestonwood Country Club on Preston Road, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Our meeting format, we found we do networking beforehand. People get there at 6:45, 6:30, 7. We start the meeting at 7:30, and we're out at 9. A lot of times people will stay until 10 o'clock just to visit with the speaker, because we always ask the speaker to stay around. So the sandwich, the speaker's the meat of the sandwich, the networking is the bread, before and after. Because when I talk and speak on networking, one of my talks works around the 3 A's. And the 3 A's are, you have to be accessible. I have to be able to find you. When I find you, you have to be approachable. You have to welcome me into your space. You got to love on me. You can't be walking around with your head down. You got to be head up. You got to make eye-to-eye contact. And then finally, you've got to be accountable, ... to that relationship that you are building from the first encounter. And rest assured, my friends, you don't know when that's going to occur. So networking is a 24/7 lifestyle. And believe me, it will reward you better than anything else that you could do with your time. Because you see, I don't care how many patents you have, how great your widgets are, how many PhDs you have. Without access, you have nothing. And Success North Dallas is all about access. Lee Thurman's Apricot Rocket is all about access. C-Suite is all about access. So with that, I'd love to have you come as my guest. first time, all in caps is a promo code. And Lee will actually be there, so you can see him in person. If you've never met him, he'll be there. I'm mad at him because his lovely bride Julie has something else to do, so she won't. But you can still meet Lee.
Well, we'll just have to do without Julie this time. But Bill, it's always a pleasure to visit with you. I really appreciate you taking so much time today, folks. Success North Dallas should be part of your must-do events on a monthly basis. So go check it out, successnorthdallas.com. Come and meet Bill. Bill, thank you for your time. A lot of good wisdom, and I appreciate you sharing your story. I've learned some things about how you did it that I've not had a chance to learn from you before. So I appreciate your time today.
Lee, thank you for your time, and thank you for your always there friendship and support. It means a lot.
I'll see you on Wednesday, Bill. Thanks.
Take care, my friend. You all have a great day.
Thank you, Bill. So last reminder, go to livestreamlee.com and you can join our community, and that's how we'll stay in touch with you. Tell us about your business and we'll try to help you make some connections. We're going to be done. We'll see you back next week. Now, on Monday of next week, I'm going to finish up the funding and financing conversation. And then we're going to start a whole new series on marketing. So please come back. We'll see you then. Cheers.